Hello, friends. 2025 is here, and a new year always brings a time of self-reflection and looking back on where we've been and setting up a direction to where we want to be. I hope that if you're here, part of your vision for 2025 includes a creative practice, and maybe more specifically, a sketchbook practice. So with decades of sketchbooking under my belt, I thought I'd share with you what I'm doing in 2025 to build my sketchbook habit and make more art. So whether you're just beginning or you're a master artist, I think it's important to start with what your goal is for your sketchbook. Are you trying to get better at a specific skill? Maybe you want to get better at drawing hands, or you want to, use more color in your work. Whatever skill you have, you want to kind of know, why you're using your sketchbook so that you can know what to put in it. You can think if you're working on a skill, maybe you want specific exercises that will help you develop that skill. Or maybe you're trying to do something else. Maybe your goal is to just capture new ideas and inspiration so that you can use those pieces to build a larger work. Sketchbooks are so pivotal for so many types of creative practices, whether you are a sculptor or a potter, or maybe you are a, director, or do a lot of filmography, like whatever you're doing in your life, you could probably use a sketchbook and sketch out things that you see or write down ideas that you have during the day. So that's another really great, purpose for a sketchbook. Another option is maybe you just want to work in the sketchbook itself. Maybe the sketchbook is the goal, is just to fill beautiful pages in your sketchbook that you can look back on and just have something creative to do. Maybe it is just a fun way to practice your creativity. And maybe you don't feel like you're an artist, but you just want a place where you can just have fun and loosen up and have a hobby that is super creative. There are so many reasons to use a sketchbook and to have a sketchbook. And they're all really phenomenal, and all of them are really important. And I think what I have to say today applies to all of those purposes. But ultimately, I think it's important to know what your purpose is for your sketchbook so that you know what you want to see in it. And so you can sit down and work in it and have an idea of where you're going. Because every time you open your sketchbook, it can be a little bit daunting. Every time you see a blank page, it can feel just a little overwhelming. And knowing what you're trying to achieve will kind of help you take those first steps every single time you open it. Personally, for me this year, I'm really looking at my sketchbooks as a way to just continue being creative and a way to just have a space where I can relax. Artistic work is very comforting and relaxing to me. It's something that gives my brain kind of a break where I can work on some creative problem solving and yet not have to think about anything else in my life. So it really is for me kind of like a mental, emotional, breath, a time and space in my sketchbook where I can just focus on the work and focus on, creating something fun and not have to think about anything else. And so for me, that is what I'm focusing on this year. And now that you have thought about that and know what you want your sketchbook to be, you can refer back to that goal, back to that vision anytime you feel unmotivated to work on it. And you can even maybe write that reason into the front of your sketchbook or the first page of your sketchbook, just so you can refer back to it and motivate your future self to keep going. Now, I want to refer to one of my favorite books, Atomic Habits. It's a really delightful book, really easy to read, and really great for anyone who's trying to build a habit. I think a lot of productivity books can feel overwhelming. And I think it's just a matter of like going into reading something like this with the specific goals in mind, specific habits in mind, so you don't feel like you are overwhelmed by all of the productivity stuff that's out there. Part of it is just to have fun. But if you are trying to build a habit, this book is really phenomenal and I highly recommend it. And the basic concepts in that book is to make your habit obvious, attractive, easy, and satisfying. So to start, you want to make your sketchbook obvious. So physically keep your sketchbook easily accessible. If you want to always work on your sketchbook in the morning, maybe just keep it where you normally drink your morning coffee. Your morning coffee is already an established habit, an established routine. And if you just keep your sketchbook nearby, then you can kind of seamlessly add that to your morning routine. You may also want to work on your sketchbook while you watch TV in the evening. And maybe you just keep your sketchbook and all of your supplies by the couch so that you can just take it out and work on it while the TV is on. And if you're unsure of when you'll have time to work on it, just keep your sketchbook and a pen in your bag wherever you go. You might find that there are a lot of little moments in between meetings or during your commute where you can pull it out and work on it. And just having it easily accessible when the inspiration strikes is really helpful. Personally, I always keep my desk clear and ready to go so that anytime I'm ready to start working on my sketchbook, I can just sit down and get started. The next key to a successful habit is to make it attractive. This one is super fun. So just pick a sketchbook that you're excited to work in. You know, maybe it's one with really sturdy paper or has a lot of texture. Maybe it's just that has a really cool front cover design, or maybe it's, handcrafted leather. Or maybe you have a cool ribbon to mark your place in it. Just keep it fun and exciting, and make sure you always have your favorite supplies on hand. Use the pens and markers that you really love to use and to explore. If things do feel boring, maybe freshen it up with a new, pen or some stickers. There are so many fun ways to keep it exciting, and really, you're not going to want to work in a sketchbook that is boring to you or doesn't have the right paper for your media. If you're a watercolor painter, you're not going to want to use just very thin printer paper. So, really pick your supplies with care. Choose ones that you're really excited to work in and that you want to work in, regularly. And a part of making your sketchbook practice attractive is to also just surround yourself with people who are supportive of your work and supportive of this habit. If you don't have any specifically artistic people in your life, you can always hang out here with the YouTube art community for encouragement and inspiration. The third recommendation is to make your habit easy. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Instead of making a goal of completing an entire sketchbook in a week, maybe you can just draw 1 page a day, or even just draw 5 minutes a day. Improvement is made one step at a time, and these huge goals are going to feel impossible to complete and kind of leave you disheartened. So even if you do have a big goal, break it up into really small chunks, something that you can do regularly over time. You're not going to maybe have 5 hours a day to dedicate to this, but you might have 5 minutes. Set a goal that is really easily achievable, one that will make you feel like you are making progress and that is easy to check off your list, especially if you're just starting this habit. Keep it small, keep it manageable, very bite-sized. You're not going to go into the gym your very first day and bench 200 pounds. You're going to start where you're at, and just start in a way that builds the habit, and then from there you'll be able to add more weight, so to say, and you'll build the muscle so that you can do a bigger challenge. And the final recommendation that Atomic Habits gives is to make your habit satisfying. Our brains like to stick to habits that we know we will get a reward from. So your reward could be as simple as the satisfaction you get from seeing your completed sketch. That can absolutely be enough to kind of like reinforce to your brain, this was worth the effort, worth the time. I want to do it again. But you need some sort of reward. Maybe you have an accountability partner, you share your work with each other, and then you can, congratulate each other. And that can be a source of satisfaction. A friend of mine uses beads in a glass jar, and every time she completes her habit for the day, she puts a bead in the jar, and then she can physically see that jar getting filled, and that like brings her that reward, that satisfaction in her mind. And so that's like a really good, objective too. Maybe if you hit a certain milestone, you go and buy yourself like a new, set of paints or, something fun to reward yourself for completing the habit. Those are the 4 basic things that Atomic Habits recommends. But ultimately, I think it's just important to, know your why. What's your reasoning for going into this creative practice? Find a time of day or just like one day a week that works for you, that works in your schedule, that can be your time. Personally, like I said, I keep my desk clear. I love using supplies that I can sit down, work on for 5 minutes, and then get up and leave. Like I really love, Liquitex or Posca markers. I love pens. I don't always love getting out like tubes of paint or my watercolor palette, because that makes me feel like I have to sit down for hours at a time to make art. Personally, if I had to get out a whole bunch of paint supplies every single time I wanted to work on it, I probably wouldn't get anything done. And so find what is easy for you to work with, what you enjoy working with, and you'll be able to build that habit in no time. Ultimately, just remember to keep your creative practice simple and enjoyable. If your sketchbook practice is really something you want to maintain for the long term, your sketchbook needs to be a place of curiosity, of joy, of exploration. It needs to be a place you want to keep returning to over and over and over again. And hopefully you can create a lifelong habit. Personally, my sketchbook goal for 2025 is to work through more of my half-used sketchbooks. Right now I have about 6 sketchbooks that I'm cycling through at the same time, but I'd really love to get to the point where I only have 1 or 2 that are in progress at the same time. And I'm just giving myself the entire year to finish up those 6 sketchbooks. Some of them have more empty pages than others, but I feel like this is an exciting goal that's going to keep me energized to keep going, something that has a little bit of a challenge to it, but isn't so crazy that I'm not going to be able to achieve it. So for me personally, that's what I'm going to be trying to do. And I hope you'll join me this year as we explore new sketchbook ideas and foster our creative habits. If you need some sketchbook ideas and don't know what to draw, go ahead and click on the next video. Otherwise, I just can't wait to see what we all create in 2025. Talk to you soon.